What's up, marker heads? It's Karen from Art by Karen E. Haley, and today I'm bringing you an illustration of Princess Zelda from Breath of the Wild. I have been wanting to do fan art of this game since it was announced at E3 like forever ago, and I am so happy with the way the picture turned out. I went through a lot of adventures and trials to get this picture finished, which I think is kind of fitting for a Legend of Zelda illustration, just because the games themselves had a lot of adventure and trials. But let me tell you what I used to make the illustration first, and then I'll discuss what I went through to finish it. The paper I used is pale peach colored cardstock, which is something I've never used before. I bought it in a pack of pastel colors in the scrapbook section in Walmart, so it's not high expensive priced paper, but it's not bad, and it reacted a lot like the regular cardstock that I use with the markers. It bled just a tiny bit more, but not enough to bother me. I also used my Copics, which if you would like a list of the colors, I have that in the description below. I used a brown Prismacolor pencil for the outlines, and I used a violet Soft Pastel. For the first time, I've used pastels in my illustration, and I think it turned out pretty nice. I used a paintbrush to apply it, and it was a lot of fun to work with. I loved that it gave a soft blend that looked really good with the marker, but it was erasable. So I definitely will be using pastels in future illustrations. You'll see me use that near the end of the video. So let's talk about the trials I went through, the adventures I experienced while I was doing this illustration. The biggest thing that set me back was that I was having trouble with power. I did not have power for a little while because they were repairing a breaker for my fridge. So yeah, the breaker that's connected to the fridge stopped working, and I was without power for quite a long time. I was not able to do any recording or audio or editing or anything like that, because I plug my camera in when I record, and I use lighting. I can't light a picture if I don't have power to go to the light bulbs, so that's a thing that I had to deal with. But it did give me time to figure out what I was gonna draw, so in a way, I kind of needed that, because initially I was going to go with a really complex illustration. And I think that I would have been set back by a day anyway if I had tried to go the route I was going to go. Originally, I was going to do Zelda and Link riding their horses together, and let me tell you, after doing this picture, I'm really glad that I only did one person riding a horse. So that in itself was such a struggle. Trying to draw Zelda riding a horse brought me to tears. I'm not joking with you, I'm being very serious. I cried when I was working on this. It was very frustrating. I have done a picture of a person riding a horse in the past. I think I showed that in a recent sketchbook flip through, but that picture is not very good in terms of proportion and anatomy and stuff like that, and I wanted to get this one right. I wanted this to be a really good example of what my illustrations are, and so I wanted to do a really good job, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to make it good. And so I think that kind of self-judgment and self-doubt really got to me. And not to mention, I really don't know how to draw people on horses. I don't normally even draw people. I normally draw Pokemon or animals. So it was really hard for me to do this one. And I definitely learned that if I want to tackle that illustration of Link and Zelda in the future, I'm going to need to practice horses and riders. So I definitely plan on doing some practicing before I do any more horse and rider illustrations. So that leads me to my question to you guys, which is, what subject do you guys struggle with, and how do you think you could improve doing that? I know that for me, for this illustration, I had to look at reference. I had multiple references. I had this anatomy book for horses, I had a picture of a horse doing the trot that I wanted it to do, and I also had a reference of a draft horse, because Zelda's horse looks like a draft horse. In some of the screenshots we see, it looks like it's the same proportions as Link's horse, so I don't see its face. I haven't found any images of this horse's face, so I had to come up with a design for its bridle and chest straps, as well as figure out if it looked like a draft horse or not. So I hope I did a good job. I'm no horse expert, so forgive me if things are wrong and you know more about horses than I do, but I really did my best. I put a lot of research into the illustration. I researched the poses that a rider would have if they were sitting on a horse. I wanted her to be giving the horse some affection, so I found one where the rider was patting the horse on the neck, and I do like it. I think that it turned out well. The biggest challenge I had was foreshortening Zelda's leg so that it looked right, because where the foot falls on the horse's body, or in relation to the horse's body, meant that part of the leg had to be up, like the thigh had to be kind of horizontal and the calf part had to be vertical. And so because draft horses are so large, it really affects the way that your legs look when you're sitting on one, and that was really hard for me to figure out. So that was the part that made me cry, was just trying to figure out how to pose Zelda. And what kind of personality she had was another thing I had an issue with, because I almost made her with this really wistful, happy, carefree expression, but when I watched the trailers, I don't get that kind of personality impression from her, and I really wanted it to be true to what we see in the trailer, so I made her look a little bit worried, you know, reassuring her horse, that sort of thing. And in the end, I'm really happy with the picture in general, and I really like the way that the horse is shaded. There's one thing that I would not do again with this picture, is the dark color that I added to the sky. The dark purple really competes with the mid-tone of everything else. I wanted everything else to be soft, mid-toned, look like it was pushed back so we see the horse. But the sky has really dark purple, and that is because I grabbed the wrong marker and put it down and was like, well, what are you gonna do? I put it on, so I guess I'm gonna have to roll with it, and I guess that's a lesson that I'll have to learn, is look at my marker before I put it on the paper. I don't know, maybe I'll do this illustration again in the future and do a few changes to the sky or the background, or maybe tackle the Temple of Time instead of just a regular forest scene. But anyway, I'm really happy with the way the picture turned out. In general, after all of the things I went through, I'm actually very, very happy with it, and I hope you guys like it too. If you'd like to see more illustrations from me, I upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you never know what you're gonna get, except for Wednesdays. It's always a sketchbook video on Wednesday. But if you'd like to see more, please subscribe, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.